DANIY'EL is not a man, that he should lie, neither the son of Adam, that he should repent. Has he said, and shall he not do it? Or has he spoken, and shall he not make it good? Bamidbar, Numbers 23:19 at CEPHER.
To understand prophecy, you have to understand who it is talking about in the lands today. Let's take a look at the prophecy of Daniel. 70 weeks are determined for the people and the holy city. That holy city is YERUSHALAIM, to finish the transgression, and to make an end of sins, and to make atonement for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness, and to seal up the vision and the prophet, and to anoint the Holy of Holies. Know and understand that from the going forth of the word to return and to build YERUSHALAIM until Mashiach the Prince is 7 weeks, and 62 weeks, 69 weeks, this equals 8 years and 28 days. Returning to diligently building the wide street in times of distress. And after the 62 weeks, Mashiach is cut off, but nothing of the holy city is ruined, and the people of the prince to come, the end of which is in a flood, and even unto the end of the battle, devastation is determined.
Over Israel, here in Tel Aviv and elsewhere, we are protesting against the horrific pogrom committed by the extremist settlers in the West Bank yesterday. They came because they have the support of the government. We came to raise our voice in protest, Jewish and Palestinian citizens of Israel, to say end the occupation and advance towards an Israeli-Palestinian peace.
To stop the occupation, for this government to bring out all the settlements, all the settlers who are inside the Palestinian territories, and to demand peace for everybody and end of the occupation.
Every week, settlers attack us and broke our windows last year. Then an aid agency installed this metal fencing. It's our only protection, but it's like prison.
And the strength of the covenant multiplies for 1 week, and in the middle of the week, the sacrifice and the oblation cease, and upon the end, abominations destroy, until the consummation is determined and poured over the desolation. Daniel 9:24-27 CEPHER. Going forth of the word to return and to build YERUSHALAIM. This is after the Passover, and the desolation is the 3rd temple. And now will I show you the truth. Behold, there shall stand up yet 3 kings in Persia. Persia today is Iran. And the 4th shall be far richer than they all, and by his strength through his riches he shall stir up all against it the realm of Yavin. Yavin today is Ephesus. And a mighty king shall stand up, that shall rule with great dominion, and do according to his will. And when he shall stand up, his kingdom shall be broken, and shall be divided toward the 4 winds of heaven, and not to his posterity, nor according to his dominion which he ruled, for his kingdom shall be plucked up, even for others beside those. And Hamelech is king of the south, shall be strong, and one of his princes, and he shall be strong above him, and have dominion. His dominion shall be a great dominion. And in the end of years they shall join themselves together, for the daughter of Hamelech shall come to Hamelech to make an agreement. Hamelech is north, a place on the e-bank of the Jordan. But she shall not retain the power of the arm, neither shall he stand, nor his arm, but she shall be given up, and they that brought her, and he that begat her, and he that strengthened her in these times. But out of a branch of her roots shall one stand up in his estate, which shall come with an army, and shall enter into the fortress of Hamelech, and shall deal against them, and shall prevail. Daniel 11:2-7 CEPHER. And shall also carry captives into Mitzrayim their Elohim, with their princes, and with their precious vessels of silver and of gold, and he shall continue more years than Hamelech. So Hamelech shall come into his kingdom, and shall return into his own land. But his sons shall be stirred up, and shall assemble a multitude of great forces, and one shall certainly come, and overflow, and pass through, then shall he return, and be stirred up, even to his fortress. And Hamelech shall be moved with bitterness, and shall come forth and fight with him, even with Hamelech, and he shall set forth a great multitude, but the multitude shall be given into his hand. And when he has taken away the multitude, his heart shall be lifted up, and he shall cast down many 10,000, but he shall not be strengthened by it. For Hamelech shall return, and shall set forth a multitude greater than the former, and shall certainly come after certain years with a great army and with much riches. Daniel 11-8-13 CEPHER. And in those times there shall many stand up against Hamelech. Also the sons of the violent of your people shall exalt themselves to establish the vision, but they shall fall. So Hamelech shall come, and cast up a mount, and take the most fenced cities, and the arms of the Negev. The origin of the word Negev is from the Hebrew root denoting dry. In the Hebrew Bible, the word Negev is also used for the direction south. Shall not withstand, neither his chosen people, neither shall there be any strength to withstand. But he that comes against him shall do according to his own will, and none shall stand before him. And he shall stand in the glorious land, which by his hand shall be consumed. He shall also set his face to enter with the strength of his whole kingdom, and upright ones with him. Thus shall he do, and he shall give him the daughter of women, corrupting her, but she shall not stand on his side, neither be for him. After this shall he turn his face unto the isles, and shall take many, but a prince for his own behalf shall cause the reproach offered by him to cease. Without his own reproach he shall cause it to turn upon him. Then he shall turn his face toward the fort of his own land, but he shall stumble and fall, and not be found. Daniel 11-14-19 CEPHER. Then shall stand up in his estate a raiser of taxes in the glory of the kingdom, but within few days he shall be destroyed, neither in anger nor in battle. And in his estate shall stand up a vile person, to whom they shall not give the honor of the kingdom, but he shall come in peaceably, and obtain the kingdom by flatteries. And with the arms of a flood shall they be overflown from before him, and shall be broken, yea, also the prince of the covenant. This sounds like a Jew, because to be a Jew you have to follow the 613 laws of the Torah.
Point, what would make someone a legitimate Israelite or Jew?
Right, these are two different terminologies that are used today. So let's say we'll discuss places around the world where we'll have 25 to 50 million people who claim to be from the tribes of Israel. Someone asks me, well, are they Jewish? And I say no, because the term Jew actually comes from Judean, the Judean kingdom, the descendants of the Judean kingdom, who, from Ezra and Nehemiah, coded the law. They wrote down, the 2,000 years ago, they wrote down the law, the Mishnah. So anyone who's one with 613 commandments, that is how you become a Jew. To be one with 613 commandments and the oral interpretations that has been passed down. Now, someone who is from the house of Israel who got lost amongst the nations, the term would be Zerah Yisrael, or the seed of Israel, someone from the seed of Israel.
And after the league made with him he shall work deceitfully, for he shall come up, and shall become strong with a small people. He shall enter peaceably even upon the fattest places of the province. And he shall do that which his fathers have not done, nor his fathers' fathers. He shall scatter among them the prey, and spoil, and riches, yea, and he shall forecast his devices against the strongholds, even for a time. And he shall stir up his power and his courage against Hamelech with a great army. And Hamelech shall be stirred up to battle with a very great and mighty army, but he shall not stand, for they shall forecast devices against him. Daniel 11-20-25 CEPHER. Yea, they that feed of the portion of his meat shall destroy him, and his army shall overflow, and many shall fall down slain. And both these kings' hearts shall be to do mischief, and they shall speak lies at one table, but it shall not prosper, for yet the end shall be at the time appointed. Then shall he return into his land with great riches, and his heart shall be against the holy covenant, and he shall do exploits, and return to his own land. At the time appointed he shall return, and come toward the Negev, but it shall not be as the former, or as the latter. For the ships of Kidium, Rome.
The Romans, Latin, Romani, ancient Greek, were a cultural group, variously referred to as an ethnicity or a nationality that in classical antiquity, from the 2nd century BC to the 5th century AD, came to rule large parts of Europe, the Near East and North Africa through conquests made during the Roman Republic and the later Roman Empire. Originally only referring to the Italic Latin citizens of Rome itself, the meaning of Roman underwent considerable changes throughout the long history of Roman civilization as the borders of the Roman state expanded and contracted.
Shall come against him, therefore he shall be grieved, and return, and have indignation against the holy covenant. So shall he do, he shall even return, and have intelligence with them that forsake the holy covenant. And arms shall stand on his part, and they shall pollute the sanctuary of strength, and shall take away the daily lifting up, and they shall place the abomination of desolation. Daniel 11-26-31 CEPHER. And such as do wickedly against the covenant shall he corrupt by flatteries. But the people that do know their Elohim shall be strong, and do exploits. And they that understand among the people shall instruct many, yet they shall fall by the sword, and by flame, by captivity, and by spoil, many days. Now when they shall fall, they shall be helped with a little help, but many shall cleave to them with flatteries. And some of them of understanding shall fall, to try them, and to purge. This sounds like what Israel is doing in the West Bank of YERUSHALAIM.
By Israeli settlers in the West Bank. They say a group of settlers set fire to cars and some 30 homes. That was just hours after a Palestinian gunman shot and killed 2 settlers on Sunday. The attacks are part of worsening violence in the region and happened as Israeli and Palestinian officials met in Jordan to de-escalate tension.
Calls for calm did not last long in the West Bank. Just hours after 2 Israeli brothers were shot dead in their car, scores of Israeli settlers began rioting near the town of Hawara, apparently in response to the killings, which Israeli officials described as a Palestinian terror attack. The rioters began burning Palestinian homes, cars and businesses.
What's happening is the burning of an entire village. This is what they do. Dozens of shops and houses were broken and burned. These were safe houses, and they were destroyed by about 400 to 500 settlers with people from the army for their protection.
Palestinian officials say 1 man was shot dead by Israeli fire and 4 more were badly injured. Nearly 100 others were treated for tear gas inhalation. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas condemned what he called terrorist acts carried out by settlers under the protection of the occupation forces. Israel's Prime Minister has called for calm.
I ask, even when the blood is boiling, not to take the law into one's hands. I ask that the Israeli Defense Forces and the security forces be allowed to carry out their work.
About 2.9 million Palestinians live in the West Bank and around 475,000 Jewish settlers, many of whom hold hardline views. Since the start of this year, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict has claimed the lives of 63 Palestinians and 11 Israeli civilians. Talks to stop the intensifying violence took place in Jordan over the weekend. While both sides made promises for peace, the meeting failed to calm tensions, which are now higher than they've been in years.
And let's bring in correspondent Rebecca Ritters in Jerusalem. Rebecca, tell us more about what happened.
Well, Sarah, this is really some of the worst settler violence that we've seen here in many years, some saying since the end of the Second Intifada some 2 decades ago. As we heard in that report, in an apparent revenge attack for the killing of 2 Israeli settlers yesterday in the West Bank near this town of Hawara, there was a call put out on social media for settlers to get out and avenge that killing. That call was responded to, and we saw settlers then going into this town, Hawara. It is a bit of a flashpoint in the northern West Bank and often the scene of settler violence. We saw them going in there, torching Palestinian homes, businesses. One home had a family in it. The IDF had to, the Israeli Defense Forces had to evacuate that family out of the burning house. We've seen
and to make them white, even to the time of the end, because it is yet for a time appointed. And the king shall do according to his will, and he shall exalt himself, and magnify himself above every El, and shall speak marvelous things against the El of Elohim, and shall prosper till the indignation be accomplished, for that is determined shall be done. Neither shall he regard the Elohai of his fathers, nor the desire of women, nor regard any Elo, for he shall magnify himself above all. Daniel 11:32-37 CEPHER. But in his estate shall he honor an Elo of forces, and an Elo whom his fathers knew not shall he honor with gold, and silver, and with precious stones, and pleasant things. Thus shall he do in the most strongholds with a strange Elo, whom he shall acknowledge and increase with glory, and he shall cause them to rule over many, and shall divide the land for gain. And at the time of the end shall Hamelech Hanajев push with him, and Hamelech Hatzaphan shall come over him like a whirlwind, with chariots, and with horsemen, and with many ships, and he shall enter into the countries, and shall overflow and pass over. He shall enter also into the glorious land, and many countries shall be overthrown, but these shall escape out of his hand, even Edom. Edom is the Romans, Italians, and Jews. He then heard that Edom had revolted from under the hand of Kidiam, and Latinus went to them and smote them and subdued them, and placed them under the hand of the children of Kidiam, and Edom became one kingdom with the children of Kidiam all the days. YASHAR JASHER 90:30 CEPHER. And the children of Kiddiam are the Ramaim who dwell in the valley of Canopia by the river Tibru. YASHAR JASHER 10:16 CEPHER. And Moab is the child of Lot and his oldest daughter. The nation of Moab was located within the modern-day country of Jordan. The descendants of Moab who have remained in the same geographical area as their forefathers now call themselves Jordanians. And the chief of the children of Ammon. Ammon is the child of Lot and his youngest daughter. Ammon, Ammonite, Ammon, Hebrew, Ammon, Arabic, MWWN, Romanized. Ammon was an ancient Semitic-speaking nation occupying the east of the Jordan River between the torrent valleys of Arnon and Jabbok, in present-day Jordan. The chief city of the country was Rabbah or Rabbat Ammon, site of the modern city of Amman, Jordan's capital. Milcom and Melech are named in the Hebrew Bible as the gods of Ammon. The people of this kingdom are called children of Ammon or Ammonites or Armenians. He shall stretch forth his hand also upon the countries, and the land of Mitzrayim shall not escape. But he shall have power over the treasures of gold and of silver, and over all the precious things of Mitzrayim, and the Libyans and the Cushim, Cushites and Egyptian, shall be at his steps. Daniel 11:38-43 CEPHER. But tidings out of the east and out of the north shall trouble him, therefore he shall go forth with great fury to destroy, and utterly to make away many. And he shall plant the tabernacles of his palace between the seas and the glorious holy mountain. Yet he shall come to his end, and none shall help him. Daniel 11:44-45 CEPHER. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince which stands for the children of your people, YESHA'YAHU. And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation even to that same time. And at that time your people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the CEPHER. And many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. And they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the expanse, and they that turn many to righteousness as the stars forever and ever. But you, O Daniel, shut up the words, and seal the CEPHER, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and the knowledge shall be increased. Daniel 12:1-4 CEPHER. Many shall be purified, and made white, and tried, but the wicked shall do wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand, but the wise shall understand. And from the time of the removal of the daily lifting up, and the giving of the abomination of desolation, there shall be 1,290 days. This is 3.53 years. Blessed is he that waits, and comes to the 1,305 and 30 days. That is 3.65 years. But go you your way till the end, for you shall rest, and stand in your lot at the end of the days. Daniel 12:10-13 CEPHER. Then said he unto them, Nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. Settle it therefore in your hearts, not to meditate before what ye shall answer, for I will give you a mouth and wisdom, which all your adversaries shall not be able to gainsay nor resist. And ye shall be betrayed both by parents, and brethren, and kinsfolks, and friends, and some of you shall they cause to be put to death. And ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake. But there shall not a hair of your head perish. In your patience possess ye your souls. And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Then let them which are in Yahud flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. But woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck, in those days. For there shall be great distress in the land, and wrath upon this people. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles, until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled.
West Bank, following an escalation in deadly violence that has been described as a pogrom by Israeli opposition figures and Palestinian officials alike. The latest wave of bloodshed began when 11 Palestinians were killed and a dozen were wounded on February 22nd, after Israeli forces launched their deadliest military raid in the occupied West Bank in nearly 20 years. A few days after the Israeli attack, a suspected Palestinian gunman killed 2 illegal Israeli settlers in the occupied West Bank town of Huwara. This shooting on February 26th sparked what an Israeli military official described as revenge attacks by 300 to 400 Israeli settlers, who went on a rampage in Huwara town in Nablus, shooting Palestinian residents and committing arson. YESHA'YAHU, a member of the town's council, said 30 houses were burnt and damaged, and more than 100 cars were torched by the violent settlers. Local emergency services reported attacks on several ambulances. More than 350 Palestinians were reportedly injured, while 37-year-old Sameh Akhtash was shot dead during an attack by settlers on the nearby village of Za'atara. Akhtash, who was killed in the presence of Israeli soldiers, had recently returned from Turkey, where he was reportedly involved in earthquake relief activities. The Israeli army also reported several cases of settler violence against soldiers. In one instance, a settler tried to ram a military officer with his car, but the vehicle sped away after soldiers fired at its tires. The Israeli army has come under criticism for failing to immediately stop the rioting, the worst outburst of violence to occur in the occupied West Bank in decades. According to Israeli police spokesman Dean Elstun, 8 Israelis were detained in connection with Sunday's rioting. Most of them were later released. Meanwhile, scuffles also broke out between Israeli police and demonstrators in Tel Aviv, as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has appealed for calm, but several politicians, including members of his ruling coalition, have praised the rampage, saying it would help deter future Palestinian attacks.
And there shall be signs in the sun, and in the moon, and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations, with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring, men's hearts failing them for fear, and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth, for the powers of heaven shall be shaken. And then shall they see the Son of Adam coming in a cloud with power and great glory. And when these things begin to come to pass, then look up, and lift up your heads, for your redemption draws nigh. 8 CEPHER.
When YASHAR goes back to Yerushalayim.
For YEHA'YAHU will have mercy on Yaakov, and will yet choose YESHA'YAHU, and set them in their own land, and the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Yaakov. And the people shall take them, and bring them to their place, and the house of YESHA'YAHU shall possess them in the land of Yahuwah for servants and handmaids. And they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. And it shall come to pass in the day that YEHA'YAHU shall give you rest from your sorrow, and from your fear, and from the hard bondage wherein you were made to serve, that you shall take up this proverb against the king of Babel, and say, How has the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased. YEHA'YAHU has broken the staff of the wicked, and the scepter of the rulers. He who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, he that ruled the nations in anger, is persecuted, and none hinders. The whole earth is at rest, and is quiet, they break forth into singing. Yea, the fir trees rejoice at you, and the cedars of Lebanon, saying, Since you are laid down, no feller has come up against us. YESHA'YAHU Isaiah 14-1-8 CEPHER. Is this what Yerushalayim looks like now?
Tear gas and stun grenades, arresting dozens and injuring several. But the violent images are not from the West Bank or East Jerusalem, known pressure points for hostilities. Instead, they're from the progressive and financial capital of the country, Tel Aviv, where tens of thousands of Israelis gathered to protest the government's judicial reform proposals.
We took our kids out of school today to teach them about democracy. We're concerned about the new legislation that the government is leading, which we feel is undermining democracy.
Throughout the day, protesters were criticized by government supporters for blocking roads and disrupting civil life.
It's terrible. People get up in the morning to work, to study, and suddenly their roads are blocked. The previous government was a leftist government. I don't remember such demonstrations, blocking of roads and disruption of normal life. Now we've elected a right-wing government. Why can't you accept it?
As the city was overtaken by the massive demonstration, in the political capital, Jerusalem, tensions were felt in the parliament. The second part of the government's proposed judicial overhaul passed its reading at the Knesset, bringing the controversial reform of Israel's judicial system, restricting the powers of the Supreme Court, one step closer to completion. Former defense minister and leading opposition figure Benny Gantz said he called Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and warned the country is spiraling towards civil war. Netanyahu, for his part, accused the opposition of inciting anarchy.
It's forbidden to hit police officers and disrupt everyday life in the country. There's someone trying to create anarchy. His name is Yair Lapid. He says it clearly. He does not want to reach an agreement.
Meanwhile, opposition lawmakers left the Knesset to join the protests in Tel Aviv.
We left the Knesset and came here today because if there is a struggle between the government and the people of Israel, we are on the side of the people of Israel. I call on the police to ignore the political, reckless and irresponsible attempts of Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir to inflame the situation.
As violence continued on the streets, with police officers and protesters clashing, the country's far-right National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir gave his full support to the police.
So is this peace? I don't think so. It's a complete opposite. So what is the scriptures really trying to tell us?